I remember it like it just happened. I saw it in the mailbox. A golden envelope, fancy handwriting. My name wasn't on it, not even close. Everyone I knew was listed. Friends, cousins, neighbors. But me, I wasn't there. I held it in my hands, shaking. The paper felt heavier than it should. I reread the names. My stomach dropped. My hands dropped. I felt this hollow space open in my chest. Maybe it's a mistake, I whispered to myself. I called her. My best friend, or at least what I thought was my best friend. Hey, I said, trying to keep my voice steady. Oh, hey. She sounded cheerful. Too cheerful. I took a breath. I got the invitation. I noticed my name isn't set there. There was a pause. I could almost hear her thinking. Then she laughed. A short, careless laugh. Oh, I didn't think you wanna come. I froze, my throat tightened.
Phew. What?
I mean, it's just a small thing, she said, like tossing a pebble in a pond. You know, I didn't think you be interested. Not interested? My voice cracked. It steps your wedding. My name is Steps there. You didn't even think I want to come? Oh, come on, she said, brushing it off. You know how it is, space and stuff. It stops nothing personal. Nothing personal. Those words hit me like ice water. Nothing personal. I hung up before I could say anything else. My hands were shaking. I sank onto my bed, the golden envelope clutched to my chest. My heart felt heavy. Humiliation, pain, anger, all wrapped together, twisting, stabbing. My mother knocked on the door. Sweetheart, are you okay? Mom. I couldn't even speak. I just held the envelope out. She read it, her face falling. Oh, honey, she said softly, sitting beside me. She took my hand. I know this hurts. I know it sets hard. It stits not just hard, I whispered. It stits like they erased me, like I don't stits exist to them. She sighed, pulling me close. I know, but people make mistakes. Sometimes they forget. It doesn't mean they don't care. I pulled back slightly, looking at her. You don't understand. This wasn't a mistake. She thought about it. She chose not to put me there. Do you know what that feels like? Yes, I do, she said quietly. But you have to decide what you do with it. Don't let it break you. I stared at the envelope again. Gold. Perfect. Mocking. Every time I looked at it, the sting burned sharper. I could feel the anger bubbling under my skin, crawling up my throat. I wanted to scream. I wanted to throw it across the room. I wanted her to feel this. I didn't know how to process it. Shock. Hurt. Disbelief. Why? Why would she do this to me? We grew up together. We shared secrets. Laughed until our stomachs hurt. And now, I wasn't worth a single line on her invitation. I pressed my forehead to the bedspread. My mother held me. Her warmth calmed some of it, but not the anger. Not yet. I whispered. More to myself than anyone else. She said'll regret this. She has no idea. And I meant it. Deep down, I knew this wasn't just a wound. This was a spark. A spark that would grow into something bigger. For now, I just sat there. Golden envelope in hand. Silent, seething, hurt. But somewhere beneath it all, power was quietly stirring. Days passed. But it wasn't really time passing. It was like the world had moved on without me. Social media lit up with wedding posts. Pictures of her smiling, holding hands, glowing like it was all perfect. My face wasn't there. My presence wasn't there. I scrolled through the photos again and again, each image a punch to the gut. Group chats buzzing with excitement. Can't wait for the big day. You're gonna cry at the vows, I know it. And I was invisible. My sister came into my room. Hey, she said, plopping on the bed beside me. You've been quiet. Come on, tell me something funny. I tried. I really tried. But the laugh came out thin, hollow. Ha ha. Yeah, sure, I muttered, staring at the wall. She frowned. Something sup's wrong. Don't just sit there. I'm fine, I said sharply. I wasn't fine. Not even close. Really? She asked, arms crossed. You've been like this for days. Don't tell me it's just a mood swing. I turned to her. It's not a mood swing, I said. My voice low, tight. It's betrayal. Her eyes widened. Betrayal? Yes, I said. Do you know what it feels like to be deliberately left out? To be erased? Not by accident. On purpose. By someone you trusted with everything? She shook her head. Oh wow. I sank back onto the bed, the anger curling inside me like smoke. I thought about her, my so-called best friend, every shared secret, every late-night conversation. And now, nothing. Nothing meant anything. I went over it again and again in my mind. Why me? Why not me? I whispered to the ceiling. Each replay, each word she said when I called. It cut deeper than I thought possible. Oh, I didn't think you'd want to come. The casual cruelty haunted me, not just careless, not just dismissive, calculated, personal. I clenched my fists. My sister watched quietly. I didn't need sympathy. I needed something else. Control, power, the ability to make them feel what I felt. They don't set get to do this, I muttered, mostly to myself. They don't set get to make me invisible. My sister tilted her head. What do you mean? I mean, I paused, the words tasting bitter on my tongue. I step in not just going to sit here being hurt. I step in going to make them realize what it sits like to be missing, to be wanted and ignored. Her eyes widened. Wait, you set Shri not. I'm serious, I said. It's sup's not about revenge? Not yet. It's sup's about presence. They still remember me, every single one of them. Days blurred. I watched their posts, laughed at the wrong times, smiled at the wrong moments. But every laugh felt like armor. My rage stayed silent, simmering beneath my skin. One night my phone buzzed. Group chat, they were planning a post-wedding brunch. Excited chatter, photos I wasn't in, jokes I wouldn't get. I texted my sister. Do you see this? Every single moment, without me, they think it seps nothing. They probably think you'll get over it, she said softly. No, I whispered. I won set, and I don't set have to. I stared out the window, the city lights blurring, my mind replayed every detail, every laugh, every oops, didn't think you'd want to come. And slowly, methodically, my anger transformed. Not blind rage, not destruction, but control, strategy, power. I imagined her noticing my absence at the next gathering, seeing the space I should have filled, feeling the silent weight of what she took from me. That thought, it made my chest tighten with satisfaction I hadn't allowed myself in days. This is instead over, I whispered, more to myself than anyone else. They stead'll see me, they stead'll feel me, they stead'll regret thinking I was insteado part of their life, thinking I didn't steado matter. My sister touched my arm. You still really serious about this, huh? I looked at her, eyes dark, sharp. I'm done being invisible, done being forgotten. This isn't set just about a wedding. It sets about being seen, being remembered, being in control. She nodded slowly, understanding without words, and for the first time in days I felt a flicker of something beyond hurt, something dangerous, something powerful. I leaned back, eyes fixed on the ceiling. My rage was silent. Yes, but it was alive, smoldering, waiting, calculating. And when the time came, they wouldn't just know I existed, they'd remember the price of leaving me out. I walked past the wedding venue that evening. The lights glowed softly against the dusk sky, golden and inviting. Couples strolled past, laughing, hand in hand, and I wasn't there, not even a shadow in their perfect little world. I stopped, just stopped, my chest tight, my hands clenched, and then something clicked. A spark, a thought so audacious it made my pulse race. If I couldn't be at their wedding, I would own the space where they celebrated it. I laughed quietly, low and sharp, the sound startling me. Why not? I whispered. Why shouldn't said I? My mind raced. I could see it clearly, signs outside my name on them, invitations now issued under my control. Every detail, every celebration, mine to shape, their joy would become mine to dictate. And for the first time, the sting of exclusion felt like fuel. I pulled out my phone and called him, my old business mentor. Hey, his familiar voice came through, calm, measured. It's been a while. Yeah, I said, trying to steady my racing heart. I need advice. Big advice. Big advice? Yusuf got my attention. Spill it. I took a deep breath. There's Sep's a venue, beautiful place. Their wedding Sep's there. I want it. I want to buy it. A pause. Then a low chuckle. You want to buy the wedding venue? Yes, I said firmly. Not just to attend, not just to rent, to own, completely. They leave me out, I shall take control. I shall be the one calling the shots. Ambitious, he said slowly. And dangerous. You know that, right? Dangerous feels good, I said, surprising even myself. I am done being invisible. Done being the joke. There was silence on the line. Then, all right. Step 1, finances. Step 2, research. Step 3, negotiations. You start going to need patience, resources, cunning. I have all three, I said, determination hardening in my chest. And then some. I hung up, heart pounding. My hands trembled, not from fear, but from energy. Raw, crackling, unstoppable. I pulled up every detail I could find. Ownership records, valuation reports, renovation histories. Every number, every clause, every loophole became a weapon in my mind. I imagined walking through the venue again, this time, keys in my pocket, a contract in hand. Every laugh from the wedding would echo in the space I controlled. Every joy they thought was theirs alone would pass under my roof, under my rules. Perfect, I whispered. This is perfect. I called my mentor again the next day. I stepped on the research. There's steps a chance, but it one step be easy. Nothing worth doing ever is, he said. I smiled at the line, even though he couldn't set see me. Then let sets do it. Every step I took after that felt like reclaiming a part of myself. I thought they had stolen. The humiliation I'd carried for days transformed into strategy. Anger turned into fuel. My chest felt lighter, sharper, alive. My sister noticed. You stir different, she said over dinner. Not sad, not withdrawn, focused, determined. I said I'm done being a spectator, I said, not hiding the edge in my voice. They think they can erase me. They think they can humiliate me and walk away. They said I'm wrong. She studied me silently. I don't like that look, she said softly. It's just not a look, I said, staring into my plate. It's just a plan, a spark, and it's just the beginning. I spent nights drawing diagrams, making lists, calculating costs, drafting letters. Every detail mattered. I imagined every conversation with the venue owner, every counteroffer, every signature. I rehearsed every line I'd say, every smile I'd flash, every pause I'd make when they asked who I was. I called my mentor again. I want to be ruthless, I said. But smart, not careless. I need their space, their faces, their plans under my control. I need them to remember why I mattered. You start playing with fire, he said, but fire burns brightest when it's sex controlled. Then I shall control it, I said. I wandered past the venue once more, night settling in. The lights dimmed. I pictured myself standing there, keys jingling, contract in hand. My pulse raced at the thought. Not just victory, but justice. Not just revenge, but reclamation. I whispered to the empty street. You took my place once. Now everything you built will pass through me. Every laugh, every celebration, mine to decide. And you? You shall see the cost of leaving me out. For the first time since that golden envelope arrived, I didn't feel small, I didn't feel hurt. I felt alive, focused, unstoppable. The humiliation had become my weapon, the anger, my fuel, the loss, my strategy. And the spark? That spark of revenge, it was just the beginning. I knew buying the venue wasn't going to be easy. It wasn't just money, it was planning, timing, people, and patience. Lots of patience. I started with the accountant. Look, I said, sliding into the chair across from him. I need a full breakdown. Taxes, debts, liabilities, everything. I want the cleanest path to purchase. He raised an eyebrow. You star serious about this? Dead serious, I said, my voice steady. This isn't just a property. It's a statement. He smirked. Statements don't usually pay for themselves. I make sure this one does, I said. After the accountant, it was the lawyer. If I sign this, what sips the risk? I asked, tapping the contract. Any loopholes they could exploit? Many, he said. But if you play it smart, very few will matter. Timing will be everything. I leaned forward, eyes narrowing. I don't need easy, I need precise and discreet. Nobody can know what I am doing yet. He nodded slowly. I like your style, but it will take coordination. Coordination, I smiled. That was my favorite part. Next, I reached out quietly to the venue staff. A server here, a manager there. Casual conversations. How long has the venue been open? Any changes in ownership recently? Any upcoming sales or renovations? Each answer was a puzzle piece. Each detail, a key, and no one suspected me. Not the staff, not the accountants, not the lawyers. I was a ghost moving behind the scenes. Invisible, calculating, planning, every meeting, every call, every casual chat was a step toward turning their celebration into my triumph. One evening, the venue manager laughed at a joke I made about catering. "You seem interested in the place." "Curious?" I said, letting the word linger. "It has history, stories, potential." "Yes," he said. "It sep's a beautiful spot. People love it. Weddings, parties, you name it." I nodded. "Exactly. Imagine controlling that. Every event, every moment." His eyes flicked up at me. That would be something. I let the silence hang, just a shadow behind the scenes, smiling quietly to myself. Later, the lawyer called. "SEP drafted an offer. Clean, legally airtight. But you need to move fast. Someone else could step in." "Good," I said, excitement bubbling under my calm. "Then we move fast. Make it untouchable." The accountant added, "Funding SEP's in place, but there are approvals. Timing will matter more than anything." "Perfect," I whispered, pacing the room. "Timing is everything, and I have it all." I imagined their faces again, the friend who left me out, her smug smile at the wedding. The group chat buzzing without me, and now, all of that would belong to me. Their joy, their celebration, their perfect day, every laugh they thought was theirs alone, would now pass under my control. I chuckled softly. Quiet, deliberate, not just laughter, satisfaction, anticipation. I made another call, speaking with a staff member I trusted to keep things confidential. "I need floor plans, event schedules, staffing shifts, everything that could affect a purchase." "Are you serious?" they whispered, almost breathless. "Dead serious," I said. "Treat it like a game, a chessboard. I'm just seeing the moves before anyone else." They laughed nervously. "You start going to win this." "Watch me," I said. Every interaction, every secret meeting, every calculation felt electric. The humiliation I'd carried for weeks was dissolving, replaced by strategy, by control, by power. I scribbled notes, drew diagrams, mapped the venue in my mind. I could see the entrance, the reception, the stage, every nook, every corner. Every smile from their wedding would eventually pass under my roof, on my terms. I leaned back in my chair, smirking. "They have no idea," I whispered. "They think the day belongs to them, but it doesn't stet. Not anymore." The lawyer called again. "Offer is ready. Signed and ready to present." "Good," I said, heart hammering. "Now we wait quietly, calculated, patient, and then—" I let the sentence hang, then smiled. I imagined her face first. Confused, shocked, humiliated. Not by me yelling or making a scene, but by the quiet, devastating realization that I had moved the pieces while they laughed, while they celebrated. Power didn't need noise. Revenge didn't need drama. I had both, silently growing beneath their feet. I looked at the floor plans spread across my desk. The diagrams, the contracts, the phone numbers, the notes, my arsenal. Every piece a tool, every tool a step closer. I whispered, barely audible. "Soon, very soon the tables turn." And I believed it, wholeheartedly. For the first time since that golden envelope arrived, I felt untouchable. Invisible, yes, but unstoppable. I could feel it before I even saw it. The whispers. Not loud, not obvious, just shadows moving through conversations. Hushed tones, quick glances. The kind that make your skin prickle. "Have you heard about her?" one voice said in the hallway. "She's SEP's, different now," another replied. Secret meetings, late calls, something big. I paused in the stairwell, heart hammering, my stomach twisted. The words weren't about me being left out anymore. They were about me being dangerous, about me moving, calculating, invisible but lethal. I smiled, quietly, darkly. Later, my sister noticed the change in the family circle. "People are talking," she said, half amused, half worried. You know about your recent projects. Let them talk, I said, brushing it off. Let them see the pieces moving. They don't set know what they seps are looking at yet. Her eyes narrowed. I still think you sage taking this far. I said reclaiming, I said, eyes fixed on the floor. Far? Maybe. Necessary? Absolutely. And then whispers became information. I started connecting dots. Friends of friends, distant cousins, colleagues, the chatter painted a picture I hadn't expected. The childhood friend who had uninvited me, my supposed best friend, wasn't invincible. She had cracks. Cracks I'd never noticed, hidden beneath her perfect smile and careless laughter. I overheard a conversation at a cafe. She's Seps buying the venue, someone whispered. Yes, another replied, voice low, and you know it's Seps hitting her hard. Financial problems, family pressure, she sat scrambling to keep appearances. I froze. Financial problems? Family pressure? Desperation? The words sank in slowly, a thrill crawling up my spine. I replayed her voice in my head from the day of the invitation. Oh, I didn't think you said or want to come. Fragile, insecure, desperate, not just selfish, not just selfish, not just cruel, just scared. I leaned back in my chair later that night, a glass of water trembling in my hand. I felt something I hadn't allowed myself before, satisfaction, quiet, careful, sharp. Not triumph. Not yet. Observation. I called my sister. Did you hear? I asked. Careful. About her. Her? You mean the one who left you out? She asked. Yes. She seps not untouchable, I said, voice low, deliberate. Everything she built it's spes fragile, cracks everywhere. She gasped softly. You sat there not just thinking about revenge, you sat there thinking about exposure. I smiled. Exactly. Not destruction. Not chaos. Just the truth. Revealed. Slowly, quietly, devastatingly. Every whisper I heard became a thread to pull. Each secret she tried to hide became a foothold. I could see her panic forming in the shadows. She was scrambling, covering gaps, rearranging pieces, and I watched. Patient, calm, calculating. I bumped into her at a mutual friend's gathering. She smiled, bright and forced. Hey, haven't seen you in a while, she said. Yeah, I said softly, letting the words linger. Busy. Her eyes flicked to mine, a hint of something unspoken. Anxiety? Recognition? Maybe both. Busy with what? She asked, too casual. Business, I said, letting it hang. Big plans, things changing. Her smile faltered for a split second. I noticed, I never missed the smallest details anymore. Not the hesitation in her laugh, not the tremor in her fingers. The cracks were widening. Later, my sister whispered across the dinner table. She seps panicking, isn't set she? She seps unraveling, I said quietly. And the beauty of it, she doesn't stepped even know it yet. I walked past the venue again, imagining her reaction when she realized I would own it. The same space she had thought excluded me. The same space she had believed was hers alone, and now, it would belong to me. Not just ownership, control, power, and the silent knowledge that she had never been untouchable. I replayed everything. The invitation, her casual cruelty, the group chats, and now the whispers. Her vulnerabilities, her hidden struggles, the pressures she couldn't admit, they weren't just facts, they were leverage. I called my mentor later that night. I have new intelligence, I said, voice low, tense. She sups not the picture-perfect, untouchable friend I thought she was. She sups fragile, vulnerable, desperate. Be careful, he said. This could backfire. That's not about me, I said. That's about revealing the truth. Quietly, subtly watching the cracks form before they collapse. The thrill of anticipation ran through me, not revenge in its rawest form yet, not satisfaction fully realized. Just strategy, observation, patience. I scribbled notes, mapped conversations, logged whispers. Every piece of information, every secret I uncovered became part of the arsenal. I imagined her at the next event, smiling, oblivious, and I, knowing, watching, waiting. The tension between us, unspoken yet palpable, like electricity in the air. I whispered into the empty room. This isn't set just about me anymore, It sets about revealing what was hidden, and you set you're about to learn the cost of your cruelty. For the first time in weeks, I felt entirely in control, not just of the venue, or the plans, or the contracts, but of the narrative itself. Every secret, every whisper, every unguarded moment was mine to hold, mine to reveal, mine to shape. The friend who thought she humiliated me, she was fragile, and I had the power to show it. The papers were in front of me, thick, crisp, final. I ran my fingers over the ink, the embossed seals, the signatures. Every line screamed control. Every clause whispered dominance. I was the owner, not just any owner, the owner. I leaned back in my chair, exhaling slowly. Triumph bubbled beneath the surface, controlled but potent. This was the moment I had been building toward. Every humiliation, every whispered insult, every calculated step had led here. I called her, my childhood friend, the one who had left me out, my best friend, the one who had thought she could erase me. Hey, she said, voice bright, careless. Did you get the invite? I smiled softly, calm, gentle, almost maternal. I got it, I said. Actually, I wanted to talk about your wedding plans. Her laughter skipped through the line. Great. I set's been finalizing with the planner tomorrow. Everything sets perfect. I let a pause stretch. Not awkward. Deliberate. Full of gravity. Funny thing about that date. Her voice faltered. What about it? The date you requested, I said softly, smiling to myself, is unavailable. There was silence. A long, sharp silence. Unavailable, she repeated, incredulous. What do you mean unavailable? That SIP's impossible. We booked months ago. I leaned back, hands folded neatly in my lap. Apparently the venue had a new management situation. Ownership changed hands. Dates are controlled differently now. She laughed nervously, trying to mask panic. Wait, new management? What, who? I let my calm be my weapon. Yes. And I stummed the new owner. The line went silent, then sharp, disbelief-laden words. You what? I repeated slowly, savoring each syllable. I summoned the new owner. Her voice trembled now. No, that suts. You can set. I don't bat suts not fair. Fair? I echoed softly. You left me out. You erased me. You thought it was nothing. But now it matters. She swallowed audibly, each sound like a knife twisting in satisfaction. But, my wedding, everything. I smiled gently, almost soothingly. Everything will happen, just not on your date. We can work around it. There are other options, you know. Her panic was tangible now. I could almost hear it clawing through the phone. Other options? That's not the point. I planned this. I need that date. I let the words hang. A soft, deliberate silence. Let her feel it fully. The exclusivity she assumed, the control she wielded over others, evaporated. Yes, I said finally, voice low, firm. It seems not everything is under your control anymore. Her arrogance, her casual cruelty, all shattered in an instant. I could hear the scramble behind the words. Rapid murmurs, phone taps, frantic coordination with event planners. I had watched her manipulate others for so long. Now, the tables had turned. I let myself smile, quietly, privately. Satisfaction surged, sharp and clean. This was more than revenge. This was justice, perfect, silent, unyielding justice. Listen, she said, voice shaky. Can we talk? There must be some mistake. Maybe we can. I don't think so, I said softly, almost pitying. I suggest you speak with the event planners directly. They stare, aware of the change. She didn't respond for a moment. Then almost a whisper, you did this. Yes, I said calm, almost tender, but it steps not about me, it steps about balance, perspective, realization. She laughed nervously. Balance. Perspective? You steer. It's not fair. Fair? I repeated, letting the single word echo. You spent years believing you could manipulate, exclude, control. That day, that envelope was a choice, and choices have consequences. Her breathing hitched, frantic. But, my wedding you can I smiled, faint, serene, almost cruelly gentle. I didn't set need to interfere directly. I just stepped into the space you assumed was yours. Silently, precisely, perfectly. She didn't know where to start. Planners calling, guests needing updates, vendors needing confirmation, chaos wrapped in civility, and all because of me. I leaned back, letting the quiet dominance wash over me. The thrill was subtle, not loud, not showy, but real, complete. Yes? I whispered softly to myself. This is it, the shift. The moment when silence becomes power, when absence becomes dominance, when the one who humiliated realizes what it truly means to lose control. I imagined her face as the realization hit. Panic, disbelief, frustration, humiliation. Every expression she had ever worn while excluding me returned to her. But now, she couldn't mask it. She couldn't escape it. My phone buzzed, event planners confirming dates, schedules, logistics. I smiled faintly. Everything in motion, perfectly orchestrated, every step deliberate, every reaction mine to witness. I whispered again, barely audible. You took my place once. Now everything you built passes through me. Your plans, your power, all under my terms. She stammered again on the line, frantic, desperate. I let her flounder. Silence is the most precise weapon. Finally, I said gently, almost kindly, Don't zech worry, everything will still happen. Just differently than you imagined. And I hung up. I sat back, eyes closing briefly. The tension dissolved, the satisfaction, quiet, deliberate, lingered. Triumph didn't have to shout. Revenge didn't need chaos. Power, subtle and perfect, was enough. For the first time since that envelope arrived, I felt untouchable. Not reckless. Not brash. Calculated. Precise. Unstoppable. The power shift wasn't loud. It wasn't messy. It was mine. And I savored it. I watched it all unfold from a distance. Phone in hand, a quiet grin playing on my lips. Calls, texts, messages left on every platform, their voice trembling, their words frantic. I let them pile up unread, one by one, savoring the tension. She's gone insane. One message read. Impossible. How did she get the date? Another replied. I chuckled softly. Insane. No. Precise. Calculated. Perfectly silent. I could hear them, almost, through the chaos of their own desperation. The friend who had humiliated me, who had laughed at my absence, who had made me feel small, she was unraveling. I answered one call. Her voice was sharp, tight, pleading. Please, this has to be a mistake. I can pay more. We can negotiate. I tilted my head, letting the silence stretch. Not cruel, just inevitable. You can do this, she hissed finally. This is my wedding, my day. And yet, I said softly, voice calm, deliberate, it is instead, not on that date, not with that assumption of control. Her breathing hitched. You starter insane. This isn't such a fair. Fair, the word made me smirk. Fair? You left me out. You excluded me. You erased me, and you believed it meant nothing. Now you see differently. She faltered, sputtered, the words trailed into frantic murmurs, directions shouted at planners, desperate attempts to salvage something. I listened, quiet, letting every crack form in their composure. Text came next. Please, insults, even thinly veiled threats. This is ridiculous. I said will call everyone. My family, they fix this. I leaned back, eyes closing briefly. Family, friends, networks, all powerless in this moment. I had claimed the space, and they were forced to recognize it, recognize me. One text made me laugh quietly. You can just insist how it works. You don't set. I typed back nothing. Silence spoke louder. Every unread message became a hammer striking at their pride. Every call unanswered was a reminder that the power shift was complete. I imagined their faces. The smugness, the casual cruelty, the careless arrogance, evaporating. Fractured, exposed, vulnerable. I whispered to myself. Soft but dark. This is what it feels like, to be unmasked, to have the illusion stripped away. They tried the planners. Begging, pleading, blaming. She must be mistaken. Usurper the expert, can do. No exceptions, the planner would say. Management changed. Ownership changed. Dates are now under the new owner SEP's control. I smiled quietly. Perfect. Quiet. Silent justice. Even their friends noticed. The group chat erupted. Have you heard? The venue, it SEP's hers? She SEP's owning it? All of it? She SEP's unstoppable. I let my pulse slow, letting the satisfaction sink in. This wasn't just revenge. It wasn't about taking a day, a date, a moment. It was about exposing the truth. Their fragility. Their masks. Their carefully curated arrogance. I called my sister later, letting her hear the chaos in the background. In SEP's happening, I said. Voice calm, the unraveling. Her laughter was soft. You did it. You actually did it. Yes, I said, almost whispering. And it SEP's more than satisfaction. It SEP's revelation. You see, they weren't SEP's just cruel, they were fragile. Insecure, desperate to impress. And now, everyone sees it. The friend called again, voice sharp and desperate. This is instead over. I stead'll fix it. You unstead'll get away with. I let the words hang in the air. I already have. Quietly, precisely, perfectly. She was silent for a moment, realizing it. The calls ended. The text slowed. Frantic energy gave way to stunned shock. I breathed slowly. The power wasn't loud. It wasn't brash. It was absolute, silent dominance, perfect timing, and unwavering calm. Messages came in from the planners. Confirmations, apologies, even polite explanations to her family. The shift was complete. Every attempt at manipulation crushed under the weight of strategy, patience, and foresight. I thought about the envelope, the one that started it all, the casual, careless exclusion. How small I had felt, and now the tables had turned. Completely. I whispered to myself, almost tenderly, you took my place once, thought it was nothing, thought it didn't set matter. Now everything you counted on, every illusion of control passes through me, and you stutter exposed. Fragile, human. I watched the final thread snap, her family calling, planning urgent meetings, her friends trying to advise, all futile. Every move she made, every attempt to salvage, only highlighted the shift in power. I smiled, quietly, the sound barely audible. Not triumph that shouts. Not revenge that screams. This was silent. Perfect. Cinematic. Complete. For the first time since that golden envelope arrived, I understood the depth of my own strength, the patience, the cunning, the subtle, devastating power of control. And I let it settle around me like a cloak, warm, satisfying, unshakable. The unraveling wasn't just about them, it was about me, about reclaiming presence, voice, power, respect. And now it was done. I watched from my office window, high above the venue, the city lights dimming in the evening haze. The wedding day had arrived, the day they had planned for months, polished to perfection, imagined as flawless, and yet they were nowhere near ready. The panic was almost audible, even from here. I could see them moving frantically through the lobby, phones pressed to ears, planners tugging at schedules, vendors rushing to adjust. Every misplaced step, every faltering smile, every frantic glance, visible, tangible, and utterly theirs. I poured a glass of water and leaned against the desk, letting it slide slowly through my fingers. Calm, quiet, controlled, perfect. Then my phone buzzed. Everything SEP's a mess, one of the venue staff whispered, almost laughing. They are panicking. Dates are double booked. Vendors are confused. And they can SEP believe it. I smiled faintly. Good, I whispered to myself, quietly, but thoroughly satisfied. I called the assistant planner. Walk me through it, I said. They can't get the caterer to confirm. Floral arrangements are delayed, guests are upset. Even their family is questioning why everything is off schedule, she said, voice trembling with amusement. Perfect, I said. Keep me updated. Document everything. I want a clear record. Then came a knock. The assistant came in, leaning casually against the doorway. They are at the entrance, waiting to see you. I smirked. Send them in. The door opened, and there she was. My childhood friend, dressed to perfection, hair pinned meticulously, smile painted on, but her eyes told the real story. Panic, frustration, shock. Hi, she said, voice tight, We need to talk about the schedule. The date. I gestured to a chair. Please, sit. She hesitated, then sank into the seat, hands twisting nervously in her lap. I sup here to help, I said softly, almost casually. I understand things have been complicated today. Complicated. The word was too mild. Disaster would have been more accurate. I could see her trying to mask it, trying to force control back into her hands, but every movement betrayed her. We didn't expect, she began, faltering. You didn't expect reality, I said, voice quiet, precise. You didn't expect that the space you assumed belonged to you could change hands, that your control is instead absolute. Her lips parted. She wanted to argue, to regain footing. But, the contracts. The vendors. My family. Yes, I said, cutting softly through her panic. All now subject to circumstance. Planning, management, reality. Her hands trembled as she fumbled for her phone. I can call someone. Someone will. Someone already knows, I said calmly, gesturing toward the assistant. Vendors are informed. Staff are briefed. Everything is in place. Her face drained of color. This isn't fair, she whispered, voice almost breaking. I let it hang. Let her feel every ounce of that word's weight. Fair. My exclusion, my humiliation, the sleepless nights of planning and patience, the calculated moves, it all collided here in this room, in her unraveling. You left me out once, I said softly, almost a whisper, letting the words linger. Thought it didn't matter. Thought your world would be unchanged. Thought cruelty had no consequences. Her jaw tightened. She wanted to speak, to fight. But the silence, the totality of control, pressed down on her. You believed the day was yours, I continued, calm, almost tender. You believed no one could touch it. No one could challenge your perfection, but here you are, flustered, fragile, exposed. I watched as the realization seeped in, her shoulders slumped imperceptibly, eyes flicking to the floor, not the arrogance she wore so easily, but the raw, human truth beneath. I didn't no, she murmured finally. I just didn't no? I echoed softly. You didn't see that exclusion hurts, that cruelty leaves cracks, that masks eventually fall. She swallowed, silent, defeated. I let the quiet fill the room. No gloating, no grand speeches, just observation, control, justice served quietly, perfectly. Everything will still happen, I said finally. Voice calm. Guests will arrive. Flowers will bloom. Music will play. But the order, the timing, the space all now flows through me. Her breathing hitched. She understood. Finally, the wedding she had imagined as hers alone, the perfection she assumed she controlled, was now subject to my terms. Every detail, every arrangement, every fleeting moment of pride, belonged in part to me. Why? She whispered. Why didn't you just yell? Just ruin everything? I smiled faintly. Loudness is instead justice. Chaos is instead control. This is precise, silent, perfect, undeniable. Her eyes darted to the window, realizing perhaps that I had watched every move, orchestrated the perfect power shift. The realization hit her like a cold wave. You did this quietly, she said, voice trembling. No one saw until it was too late. Exactly, I said, letting the words settle. Justice doesn't need an audience. Revenge doesn't need drama. It needs timing, patience, precision. She swallowed. No retort, no argument, only awareness, only recognition of what had been lost and what had been revealed. I stood and walked the window, watching staff move gracefully, vendors adjusting seamlessly, the chaos outside reduced to a smooth ballet. The day would continue. Everything would proceed, but the power, the quiet, undeniable shift, had already occurred. I whispered to myself, darkly, softly, almost reverently, every insult, every sleepless night, every ounce of determination, it all led here. Justice isn't loud. Justice is perfect. And today, justice is mine. I leaned back, glass in hand, exhaling slowly. The tension, the weight of planning, of pain, of patience, lifted. Satisfaction coursed through me. Quiet, complete, cinematic. The wedding outside would proceed, but the lesson, silent, precise, unavoidable, had been delivered. Their arrogance exposed, their cruelty met with measured, devastating consequence. I smiled faintly. This is the power of patience, I whispered, the strength of control, the beauty of subtle justice. And for the first time since that golden envelope arrived, I felt the morning sun filtered through the blinds, soft and golden, touching the office where I now sat. The city below hummed, unaware of the battles waged above it, of the power quietly claimed, of the justice silently served. I took a deep breath. The air felt different, clean, unburdened, free. I had expected satisfaction after the wedding, a fleeting rush of triumph, maybe even some gloating. But this was deeper, permanent. I leaned back in my chair and dialed my sister. "Morning," she answered, her voice bright, warm. "Morning," I said softly. "I just wanted to thank you for being there, for seeing me through it all." She chuckled. "You didn't need me. You did all of it. You were unstoppable." I smiled faintly, letting her words sink in. I learned a lot though, about patience, about control, about what really matters. "You mean, revenge?" she asked, playful but gentle. I paused, considering, "Not just revenge," I said finally. "That was the path, but what I discovered on the way, strength, strategy, calm, independence, that's what matters." She laughed softly. "And here I thought it was all about making them squirm." "Partly," I admitted, quiet, almost shyly. "But mostly, it was about me, claiming space I thought I had lost, owning power I didn't realize I could have, turning pain into proof that I could survive and thrive." She was silent for a moment, then softly, "You really did rise above it, didn't you?" I let the words linger. "I think I did," I whispered, almost to myself. I hung up and looked out over the horizon. The venue glinted below, alive with movement, guests happy, staff efficient, everything flowing seamlessly. Once, I would have imagined it all through their lens, crushed under their expectations, erased, unseen. Now, it belonged to me, not for revenge alone, but for growth, for empowerment, for freedom. I thought of my mentor next. I dialed. "Good morning," he said. Calm, measured, steady. "Morning," I replied. I wanted to share. The day after, the aftermath, I finally feel like myself again. Stronger, clearer, focused." He chuckled softly. "You were always capable of this. You just needed the stage. The challenge." I smiled. Challenge, yes. But also, revelation. The entire journey showed me something crucial. Scars aren't set weaknesses. They set symbols. Evidence of survival, strategy, growth. "Good," he said. "And the peace you feel now?" I leaned back, eyes closing briefly. "It steps real, not just relief. Not just absence of tension. It steps calm, empowerment, freedom. Knowing I can navigate any storm, that I don't need validation from those who tried to erase me. That I am enough. And more than enough." "You truly risen," he said, voice warm. "And I couldn't be prouder." I smiled, soft and quiet. "Thank you, for believing, guiding, reminding me that strategy is power and patience is a weapon." He laughed gently. I only pointed the way. "You walked it, every step." I ended the call and walked over to the window. The sky stretched endlessly, pastel streaks brushing the horizon. It reminded me of everything: pain, humiliation, planning, patience, revenge, triumph, all of it. Each step had brought me here, standing above the storm, untouched, calm, empowered. My sister had been right. This wasn't just about making them squirm, this was about turning scars into strength, bitterness into clarity, exclusion into presence. The envelope, the whispers, the frantic calls, the failed manipulations, all part of the lesson. I called one of my closest friends, someone who had stood beside me quietly during the early days of planning, who had never judged, never whispered behind my back. "You okay?" she asked softly, sensing something in my voice. "I am," I said. "Truly, completely. I've never felt more me. Free, independent, strong, and connected to the people who actually matter, people who value me." "Am glad," she said, softly, warmly. "You deserve this, all of it." I smiled faintly. I think I finally understand. Revenge was the teacher, but the lesson is life. Scars are symbols. Strength is silent. Control is calm, and peace comes when you stop measuring yourself by others, accept cruelty, and start measuring by your own growth. She laughed softly. Yusef become unshakable. I let her words hang. Maybe, or maybe Yusef just learned to let go of bitterness, of resentment, of the illusion that their opinions define me. And in that, Yusef am unstoppable. After we hung up, I sat in silence, letting the weight of it all settle. My hands rested on the desk. My gaze drifted again to the horizon. Calm, unshakable, triumphant, free. I thought of every sleepless night, every anxious phone call, every whisper and secret plan. They had all brought me here, not just to revenge but to revelation, to empowerment, to proof that I could rise above cruelty, exclusion, and manipulation, that I could claim my space, my voice, my life. The venue below thrummed with life, a symbol of everything I had fought for. Not vengeance alone, but proof of resilience, proof of strength, proof of self. I had been tested, humiliated, underestimated, erased, and yet I had turned every slight into strategy, every insult into action, every absence into presence. I whispered softly to myself, the words almost sacred. I am more than they ever imagined, stronger than their cruelty, wiser than their judgment, and finally, free. My sister's voice echoed in my mind, warm and knowing, you've risen above, you've always had the power. And she was right, I had. I stood, walked to the balcony, and breathed in the early morning air. The world stretched endlessly before me. Nothing felt impossible. Nothing felt beyond reach. Scars remained, yes, but they were mine, a map of strength, a testament to endurance. The envelope, the whispers, the failed manipulations, they were chapters in my story, lessons etched in my being. I smiled, calm, triumphant, whole. The storm was behind me, the lesson learned, the victory silent, perfect, undeniable. And I was rising, always rising,